graphing all differences in formal letter and informal letter. You are welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Tony James. In today's video, we shall be looking at letter writing. Letter writing. This video is specially packaged for candidates writing the WAEC 2026 exams. As the exam is forthcoming, we want to look at letter writing, and we are packaging this video to make it contain all the necessary information the WAEC student need to know. That is why in this video we are going to consider the entire knowledge of letter writing. We are not leaving out any part. We are going to consider all that the student need to know about letter writing. And therefore, students should take their time to listen to this video and study it very well. And I can assure them that every information needed to pass the WAEC exam or to successfully write a letter in the WAEC exam, they will get it in this video. So let us go into the video as we consider the objectives of the video. In this video, any student that is able to listen to this video should be able to identify the types of letters. Through this video, students shall be able to identify types of letters. Students will understand the format of each type of letter. Then students should be able to write letters correctly using the appropriate tone and structure. In this video, we shall show the students the structure of each of the letter type. And then we shall also share with the students common mistakes that people make when writing letters at the WAEC exam. And we shall also share tips that students need to know. All those tips that students need to that will help the students to perform well in this exam. So let's go into the video. First, we want to look at what is letter writing. What is letter writing? Letter writing is a form of written communication between a sender and a receiver. We say letter writing is a form of written communication between a sender and a receiver. In this case, the student is the sender, the examiner is the receiver. And the student need to know that it is a coded information. What do I mean by coded information? There are rules guiding the writing of letter at the WAEC exam. The WAEC English exam set out rules that students need to follow in writing letters. Although these rules are what will prepare the student for the future. That is, how to write letters in the business world, in the social world, and in every area of life. How the process of writing letter, that is exactly the rules WAEC put in place for students. And therefore, every student of WAEC need to know all the necessary rules that is required to write a good letter. And that is what we are packaging inside this video, as I've said. Also, the student should know that the letter writing is used to pass information in a clear and organized manner. That is, there are laid down rules that spell out how clear the information should be, how organized the information should be. And that is what we shall show the student. Now let's go into the types of letters. What are the types of letters we have? We have three types of letters, basically three types of letters. We have the informal letter, the formal letter, and the semi-formal letter. We have the informal letter, formal letter, and semi-formal letter. We are going to take each of these type of letter, and we would explain all that students need to know about them. Now let's look at the informal letter. The informal letter, it can also be referred to as personal letter. So students should watch out. You may be asked to write personal letter, don't feel that what type of letter is personal letter again. Another name for informal letter is personal letter. Personal letter. These are letters written to friends, letters written to family, or people you are familiar with formal letter. Now let's look at formal letter. Formal letter. These are letters written to people in authority or official bodies. Letter written to people in authority or official bodies. And this letter uses polite, official, or structured tone. Polite, official, or structured tone. We all know that there is a way we talk when we are at home or when we are in the midst of friends, and there's a way we talk when it is official, be it in the place of work, be it in place of a religion place or social place. There are ways we talk. So when it comes to writing letter, the tone of formal letter has to be polite, official. So to stick to writing date formally. That is, let's consider first the structure of an informal letter. What we mean by structure here is the format. The format. First, among the features or format of an informal letter is the address. The address. The address of the informal letter is always written at the top right corner of your page. The address, that is your address, the address of the writer is always written at the right top corner of the page. It's very important that you write your address there. Then coming immediately after the address of the writer is the date. We have the date coming in the next line after the last line of the writer's address. And this date has to be punctuated. That will be properly written and punctuated. We will show us how you write the date of informal letter. But it has to be properly written and punctuated. 10th April, 2026. A student will not be penalized for writing the date properly, because if we decide to be writing date anyhow, let it not be that we'll go and write informally, even when we are to write a formal letter. So that is for date. Then we talk of salutation. Salutation. The informal letter, part of the structure of the informal letter is salutation. And this is a form of greetings. So the type of greeting that the informal letter requires is dear Olu, or dear then first name of the receiver, or dear daddy, dear mommy. These are salutation of the informal letter. And that is one of the structures of the informal letter. The informal letter, let me mention here, has no title. The informal letter does not require title. It's one of the differences between the formal letter and the informal letter. So no title. So after the date, you go to the left side of the paper by the margin. Take note, you don't leave any indent. You don't leave any space between the line, the margin, and the beginning of the salutation. You have to align your dear to that line. No margin. No, your indentation does not start from your salutation. So you say, dear sir. From the margin, you start writing, dear sir. So after dear sir, comma, after dear Olu, or dear mommy, or dear daddy, you now put comma. That is, you now start your indentation. That is, you now start your paragraph. Because we will be going to the introduction now. After salutation, you go to introduction. And your introduction is going to be written in form of in paragraph form. So the first part of the first line of your paragraph have to start with an indentation. That is, you leave a small space from the margin. So we are saying you have dear sir, dear, the dear from the margin. Then after the dear Olu or dear mommy, comma, then you now do an indentation. Let's take note, your indentation may not necessarily be at the point of comma after your dear Olu. So you can have dear Olu that measure up to maybe some space, and just move its little space in the next line to show your indentation. So let's take note of this. And if you decide to make the point of comma your point of identification indentation, there is no crime in that. If your indent is directly from the point of comma after salutation, there is no penalty for it. Just make sure that the beginning of the next paragraph will also take that same point, because it's always good and it makes your work presentable when all your paragraphs start on the same point. So we move to the introduction of the informal letter. The introduction is always the first paragraph of the informal letter, and you have to ensure that this introduction is written in a paragraph. In fact, the introduction is the first paragraph of your letter. So students should do well to listen to my video on paragraphing. Check my video on paragraphing to learn how to write in paragraph and everything you need to know about paragraphing, because paragraphing is very important to students, both in essay, both in letter writing. So you write the introduction. Now in the introduction, there is room for pleasantries. When you are writing your introduction of informal letter, there is room for pleasantries. You can ask for the experience of the last journey, how the experience of the past exam, and any other things like that. Maybe there has been an event. You can ask for the experience of the last event, or share an experience you have or you have with your friend. There is room for that under the introduction. That is when writing informal letter. Then after that, you come to the body of the letter writing. The body of the letter writing is also written in paragraph, and this contains at least 3 to 5 paragraphs, depending on how many words the examiner requires you to write. So the body of the letter is to be written in paragraph, where you have outlined your points, then you develop them to paragraph, and you develop them to topic sentence, and develop them to paragraph. So the body of the letter will also be written in paragraph, and this will contain between 3 to 4 paragraphs. Then we come to the conclusion. The conclusion is also going to be in paragraph, and you are going to summarize all the points you have made in the body of the letter, and even in the introduction and the body of the letter, you summarize everything in the conclusion, then close it up there. Then after writing the conclusion, you do the closing remark. The closing remark is not a paragraph, but rather a form of greetings, or we call it closing remark. And for an informal letter, it's always yours sincerely, or your friend. Yours sincerely, or your friend. This is the closing remark of an informal letter. And then after the closing remark, you just put your name, your first name, not your first name and your last name, but only your first name. And this place does not require any signature, because it's an informal letter. So after your closing remark, yours sincerely, or your son, your daughter, your friend, Olu, that is all, and put your full stop. Put your full stop. That there will be comma after the yours sincerely. Let's not forget that. Comma after the yours sincerely, then comma Tolu, and you put your full stop. That is the structure of the informal letter. Now let's look at the structure of the formal letter. The structure of the formal letter. We have at the top right corner the sender's address, just like we have it in the informal letter. At the top right corner, we have the sender's address. Then this sender's address have to be properly punctuated. There are two types of style of writing the address of the writer under formal letter. You either use what we call full blocked style or the punctuated one. What we call full block is that you will not punctuate at all. You will not punctuate at all. You only punctuate at the end. This is a bit technical, and students are not to use it under examination condition. So instead, the students are to punctuate the address. Now, in the address, there are a lot of technicality in writing the address. Students should ensure that the lines, the address, the first word in the address are lines and follow a straight line down from the first line of the address down to the last line, have to be on straight line. Under informal letter, it could be allowed to be slant, but for a formal letter, it is not allowed. It is not allowed for the address to be slant. But under informal letter, that could be allowed. So the address of the writer have to be made straight. You know you are writing from at the right hand, and therefore you are writing from the middle of the paper to the end of the paper, unlike when you are writing from the margin. So there is need for you to ensure that the words, the first line, the first letter of each line of the writer's address is straight down. It's straight down, and they all begin with a capital letter. Then all the contextual word in the address. I'm going to post a video talking about contextual word and functional words. All the contextual word, that is, all words of a verb, noun, adjective, and adverb that appears in the address must start with capital letter. It must start with capital letter. We are going to show us example. So it must start with capital letter. Then you punctuate. That is, at the end of each line, there will be comma. That is the end of a street, there will be comma. At the end of a town, there will be comma. Or at the end of a bus stop, there will be comma. At the end of the town, comma. At the end of a city, till the end of a country, before you have the full stop. Pray, comma, 26. No, it's 2026. It has to be written formally. Then we have the address of the receiver. That is the address of the person you are writing to. That one will be at the left-hand side of your paper. And the first line will be the same line with the end of the date. That's where you write date. To be the first line will start from there. It's very important. You don't write it directly against the address of the writer. One of the reasons for this is that should the line of your address extend unnecessarily, let it not be that it will go and touch the address of the receiver. That is a simple reason that you should allow your writer's address to come the next line after the date, or at least the next line, the same line with the date. But in most cases, you start the first line of your receiver's address immediately after the sender's address. So having written the address of the receiver, there is what we call salutation, even in a formal letter. And the salutation allowed in formal letter is dear sir or dear ma. Dear sir or dear ma. In a situation where a student is in doubt of whether he's writing to a male or female, it is always dear sir. Don't write dear sir stroke ma. No, it's dear sir. If you know the person you are writing to, that is a lady, you write dear ma. But where you are in doubt, just write dear sir. And the dear sir, the D have to be in capital, the S of your sir have to be in capital. And if it is dear ma, the M have to be in capital. Very important. And then there will be a comma thereafter. And then your dear should align to the margin. No space between the margin and the dear and the salutation. Some students always think that the paragraph starts from there. No, the paragraph does not start from your salutation. This is very important. Then after the salutation, you now go, the next line will be the heading or the title of the letter. Your need or what you want from the organization or from the receiver. You start it right from the introduction. Go straight to the point. Because it's a business letter, it's assumed that the businessman has no time to read many things. Or perhaps you are writing a letter of application. There could be several hundreds of applications. So if you are still writing a long note in the introduction, the person that is sorting the letter may not have time to go through all lengthy note. So let the person that received your letter be able to see the reason for your letter directly in the introduction without wasting time. Although under examination condition, student could be given a formal letter to write to probably the senator or the governor of the state to highlight some factors. So whereby the student will be required to write a lengthy letter, lengthy formal letter. But under normal circumstances, the formal letter is not meant to be lengthy. But for WAEC exam, it's going to be a lengthy letter because the examiner will frame the question in such a way that it will require you writing a lengthy letter. We'll show you now. Will show us how it's come to be. Now, having written the introduction, we go to the body of the letter. Don't forget, we are looking at the format or structure of the formal letter. So after the introduction, don't forget the introduction will also be written in paragraph. We now come to the body of the letter. The body of the letter is also in paragraph, and this will contain between 3 to 5 paragraphs. 3 to 5 paragraphs, depending on the number of words the student is expected to write. So you will present all the information that is required in the body of the paragraph. For instance, a student could be asked to write on factors that contribute to poor electricity. Factors that contribute to poor electricity. So those factors, each of them will take a paragraph. You will make each of them a paragraph and explain on each of them, give illustration, then that forms your paragraph. And by the time you write 3 to 5 paragraphs, you will have achieved the number of words that is required. So that will be the body of the letter writing. Then we come to the conclusion. The conclusion of the letter have to be a summary of the introduction and the body of the letter, particularly the introduction. So it is at the conclusion that the student will kind of summarize everything and conclude the letter. Then part of the structure, we have the closing remark. The closing remark is not a paragraph, but rather a remark. And the accepted or acceptable remark of a formal letter is yours faithfully. No other greetings is allowed, no other closing remark is allowed. Yours faithfully. And students should take note in writing the yours faithfully, the Y have to be, the Y of the yours will be capital, and the F of the faithfully is going to be a small letter. So don't write capital F. It's only Y of yours that will be capital. The faithfully will be small letter. Then you will have to put comma after the faithfully. Then after writing that, directly under the yours faithfully, the student will sign you put your signature. Then when you put your signature, you put comma at the end of the signature, and directly under the signature, you put your full name, Tony James. Not only your name like informal letter, but your name, then your surname. So it's very important that students understand this structure. And then as you prepare, as you practice, make sure you follow this structure. Now let's look at the format of the semi-formal letter. When you check through many textbooks, you see that English authors hardly write out the format of semi-formal letter because they are often they often overlook the semi-formal letter, or believing that is partly formal, partly informal. But there are some technical things, technical requirements in semi-formal letter that students need to know. So we have decided to put everything out on the board here for students to see, so that you know the format of a semi-formal letter, the structure of a semi-formal letter. Starting from the writer's address. The writer's address is as the formal letter. You write it at the top right-hand corner of the paper. Write it out as you write that of formal letter. Just write it out as you write that of formal letter. And then the date comes below the address in the same format, 10th March 2026, full stop. 10th March 2026, full stop. Then the salutation. The salutation will be polite, but not as strict as that of formal letter. The salutation will be polite, but not as strict as the formal letter. Now, when you look at the structure now, you see that the writer's address, the receiver's address is missing. There is no need for receiver's address in a semi-formal letter. There's no need for receiver's address in the semi-formal letter. Then in your salutation is not going to be "Dear Sir." Don't forget, the semi-formal letter is to a person you know. So it's not going to be "Dear Sir," but rather it will be "Dear Mr. Johnson" or "Dear Mrs. Adams." You know them, you know the individual, but you are not too familiar with him like your father or like your friend or like your mom. So you address him "Dear Mr. Johnson," that is Mr. then his surname. If it's Mr. Olu Johnson, not Mr. Olu, you are not going to say Mr. Olu, but you say Mr. Johnson. When the Englishman calls the first name, they don't use Mr. So when you address somebody as Mr., officially it's Mr. Johnson, not Mr. first name. So having written the salutation, the next structure is the introduction. And again, you see that the title is also missing. There is no need for title in the semi-formal letter. No title. No title. So you go straight to the introduction. The introduction has to be also brief, like that of the formal letter, because the person you are writing to is not familiar to you. You have to write politely to him and be direct. You don't need to ask. There's no room for pleasantries in semi-formal letter introduction, because the person you are writing to is not familiar with you. You might not have any business with him before. So there is no familiarity. There's nothing you want to discuss. More of the format of a semi-formal, the body of the letter. When you are writing the body of a semi-formal letter, the content have to be clear and also organized, in the sense that it must be in paragraph. It has to be clear and organized. You put it down in paragraph. Then explain your ideas properly. You know this person is not familiar with you, so he might not condone your excesses. You have to explain your ideas properly. Then the tone should be respectful and not too rigid. It's not formal, it's not too formal, but it has to be partially formal. So you don't use slangs. Don't use slangs. You don't use slangs. Then you come to the conclusion. The conclusion also how to round off everything. It has to put everything together and summarize. And the language have to be polite. If you are making a request, you make it politely. Then the closing have to be polite, but not too formal. The closing remark can be yours sincerely or yours respectfully. Yours sincerely or yours respectfully. Then you put your name. There will not be any signature, but this time you put your full name, Tony James. But there will not be signature. So all these things are what students should learn about semi-formal letter. These are the structures of the semi-formal letters. And we have put up all the structures of the letters students should learn. Now let's drop key differences between formal letter and informal letter. These are some key differences between informal letter and formal letter. As we said, the features have to be informal when it is informal letter, while the features of formal letters are formal. Now, let's talk about the tone. The tone of an informal letter is friendly, while the tone of a formal letter is official. The language of the informal letter is simple, while the language of the formal letter is formal or official. The salutation. Under informal letter, the salutation is Dear John. But under formal letter, it is Dear Sir or Dear Ma. And the first letter of D and Sir have to be capital. Then the closing remark. The closing remark of an informal letter is yours sincerely, while that of the formal letter is yours faithfully. Yours faithfully. Then the address. The informal letter has only one address, while the formal letter has two addresses, the address of the writer and the address of the receiver. Now let's look at tips. Why tips? What students should know. Guidelines provided by WAEC. Things WAEC will be watching for as the examiner mark your answer scripts. Number one, avoid slang in a formal letter. In formal letters, you don't use slangs or cliches. You don't use slangs or cliches or words that are not grammatic, that are not English. You know what we call slangs. Slangs are non-English words that are used in a community. So don't use slangs when you are writing formal letter. It could be allowed in informal letter, but not in formal letters. 2, be clear and organized. Let your write-up be clear and organized. Very important. Then develop your point. As you write, develop your point and make sure you write in paragraph. Use correct format. If you are writing a formal letter, use a formal format. If you are writing an informal letter, use informal format. Then, as I said, write in paragraph. Your letter must be in paragraph. Let's look at common mistakes that students make in the WAEC exam. Students make mistakes of wrong format. If you use the wrong format, there will be problem. Or you mixing of formal and informal language. When your language is between formal and informal in a particular letter, then you'll be having problem. If you are writing informal letter, stick to informal language. If you are writing formal letter, stick to formal language. As we study further, you will understand more about what we can classify as formal or informal. And most importantly, when you join my online classes, we'll be able to show you more of such. Then poor paragraphing will make a student lose mark. Common mistakes in letter writing at the WAEC exam is poor paragraphing. when a student don't know how to write paragraph or write in paragraph. And that is why a student, before you write the next WAEC, listen to my video, watch my video on paragraphing. Very important. I've put everything a student needs to learn paragraphing in that video. And you can as well join my online classes to learn more, so that I will mentor you on how to write in paragraph. Then your closing remark. If it's wrong, examiners will mark you down. All the parts of the letter have their marks. The examiner will give you mark for the address, the writer's address, the receiver's address in case of formal letter, the salutation, the title, everything carry marks. And that is why it's often said that letter writing is an easy part of the WAEC exam, because you can easily score marks. Every part carries mark. So a student should learn all the parts, all the structures of the letter. Then, as you answer your question, use the format, the right format. Use the right format and let your paragraph be clear. And then your conclusion, use the right tone. And this is very important. This is an important note I have to tell the student. Practice letter writing. I've always said it. I said it in the essay writing, introduction to essay. Don't let your first writing or your first letter be the letter you will write in the exam. If the letter you are going to write is the one in the exam, the first letter is in the exam, you have planned to fail that exam. You must have been writing letters. Practice writing letters. And that is where a student will benefit when you come to my online classes. I will test you on writing letters or letter writing, then I'll be able to mark it for you and assess you on it, correct you where you need to be corrected, and then perfect you. So you have to try your hands on exercises. Write letters, practice regularly. Get somebody to assess what you have written, to assess you all around. We'll be able to tell you where you need to perfect. Very, very important. Very, very important. Students should learn this. It's very important. Yes, we have discussed the letter writing, and we have looked at the three types of letter: the formal, the informal, and the semi-formal. We have looked at the structures, and we have looked at some of the tips students need to know. Then we also looked at some of the common mistakes that students make in the WAEC exam. Do well to like my video, share it among your friends, share it to your children, and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that when I release other video, you will get notification. Until I come your way again, my name is Tony James.